Fall is here, folks. I am the Mighty Plantain, and check it out. We've got the Sam Adams Fall Variety Pack. Now, I love a good winter beer, and I love a good fall beer. Those are my two favorite seasons, really, when it comes to the beer scene. Not such a big fan of winter in Maine, but hey, you get by and you get used to it. Fall, however, is really nice. I mean, the leaves start to turn. It's cold, but not too cold. You get the crisp autumn air and you get fall beers. I mean, these things are just awesome. like I said, I like a nice heavy winter beer, but the fall beers are right there on the edge of heavy and light, and they all just seem to fall into a really great category. Um, Plus, these are the ones that you sit around a nice bonfire with when you have that opportunity. So enough about that. What have we got in this year's pack? Well, they put three new varieties in, which is awesome. There was a point in time with the Sam Adams seasonal packs where you were only getting four varieties overall, and maybe one of them was new, which was a change because years back you used to get at least two new varieties and six overall. Um, this year, though, you've got six varieties total, three of them being new. So what we've got Sam Adams Boston Lager, of course, Sam Adams Oktoberfest, definitely a mainstay, really great. The Hoppy Red, which was actually new last year. The Bonfire Blonde, which is brand new this year. Maple Ale, which is new this year as well. And the Toasted Caramel Bock. So in terms of tasting order, I think we're going to start with the Bonfire Blonde. Blondes tend to be lighter and easier beers on the palate. And we're going to go with the Boston Lager only because the Boston Lager for me is a perfectly balanced beer, and the Oktoberfest is a little bit heavier and has a little bit more spice, and I don't want the Boston Lager to overpower that. And we're going to be cleansing with water in between beers, but at the same time you still get some of that lingering taste. So Bonfire Blonde, Boston Lager, Oktoberfest. Then we're going to switch over to the Maple Ale, hit the Caramel Bock, because the Bock is going to be a heavier beer, and then we'll go with the Hoppy Red because it is hoppy, and hops will tend to overpower some of the more subtle tastes of even a heavier dark beer like a Bock, a stout, or a porter. So that's just my thought on the tasting order. That's where I'm going to go. Hit me up down in the comments, the email link down below if you disagree or if you agree. Still want to hear from you. See if you have any different thoughts on that or if you think I'm right on. So without further ado, we got the Bonfire Blonde. We'll get this one started out. Now while I'm pouring this out, make sure you're hitting me up down below with a like and a share, and definitely subscribe. That way you'll get a notification every time I post a new video. Hopefully you're getting some good value out of these in terms of entertainment, or at the very least it's helping you make some decisions when you hit your local beer cooler. Now that is a very light, very blonde ale. It's clear, easy to see through, somewhat effervescent. I don't know, it almost reminds me of some of the more mass-produced domestic beers in terms of appearance. It is a little bit more golden in color than that, but just where it's light and transparent and somewhat effervescent. I know it's not going to taste anything like those because nothing from Sam Adams does, but it just, in the appearance, reminds me of those beers. Almost a slight hint of hoppiness in there, and I'm actually wondering if this is a wheat beer. It doesn't specifically say that it's a wheat beer, but it may be. I'm just getting some of that hoppiness and like a weedy aroma off of it. I don't know how else to describe it. Just like this really grainy, weedy smell. A little tiny bit of hint of smoke in there too. That is a very nice medium light mouthfeel. actually quite smoky. With just a slight hint of hoppy bitterness in the finish. Almost an earthiness to it. And that's definitely a bonfire beer. Quite smoky, slightly earthy in the finish, medium light mouthfeel. This is going to go down very, very easy. And it's quite pleasing. I'm still getting a little bit of that grainy, like I said, weediness, and that may be a component of the beer. I'm not 100% certain, but it is delicious. There's no real great standout characteristics that are jumping up and biting me, but the smokiness is different. It's something I've experienced in a couple of other beers, but with this one there's nothing else that's really holding it back. So that's primarily the flavor in there. I think I'm actually going to hit this with a 4 out of 5. Like I said, there's nothing really jumping up out of the beer and making me go, wow. But that smokiness is strong and very forward, and it's quite pleasing, and just the overall beer experience is great with this one. So definitely a good start to this pack with a 4 out of 5 on the Bonfire Blonde. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this one up and move on to the Boston Lager. So we are up to beer number 2 in the fall variety pack. We're going to check out Sam Adams Boston Lager. Always a good decision. So, kind of know what to expect from this one. No surprises, nothing new, nothing different. Let's go ahead and pour this out. Give you a good look at it. Got somewhat of a head on there as well. It's just a nice, perfect golden brown. You can still see through it. It is transparent, but it's got a lovely, lovely color to it. Beautiful golden brown. Slightly effervescent. It's just got a great beer aroma to it. Little hoppy, little grainy. Nothing in particular jumping out at you. Just a really nice, robust beer aroma. And as always, that is a perfectly blended beer. And it's got a lot of different hop characteristics just dancing off the tongue. It's got a nice medium mouthfeel. It's got a strong malt backbone. Different notes coming out in the hops. A little bit of piney, a little bit of citrus. Just very, very, very subtle. Overall, just a nice hoppy bitterness that complements the malt characteristic of the beer. No one element in this beer overpowers or overshadows another. It just comes together really well, and it is, as I said, a perfectly blended beer. And I know I sound like a commercial for it, but hey, try it yourself. If you love good beer, you will like a Sam Adams Boston Lager. And that's why this beer is always a 5 out of 5 for me. Like I said, there's no one particular element that's jumping out and wowing me. It just happens to be how well all of the different elements combine in this recipe, and the flavor combination, the balancing of each characteristic it's a perfect beer. So that one's not going to last very long. I'm going to finish it up and move on to number 3. Alright, so we are up to beer number 3. This is Sam Adams Oktoberfest, another classic. There's a lot of really great Oktoberfest beers out there, but this one is another really well-balanced example. My buddy EM Diesel, EM Destroyer, he will tell you that this is his yardstick for measuring any other Oktoberfest or even any other fall beer. And I can kind of agree with him on that one. I haven't yet found anything that really brings together all of the elements I want in a nice Oktoberfest quite like the Sam Adams Oktoberfest does. Similar to the Boston Lager, things are really well blended. There's no one particular element that jumps out at you and makes you go, wow, but just the combination of tastes and flavors and the way they combine. That's what's really great about this beer. Now, getting into the darker ones, that is definitely a dark brown, a little bit of an amber tinge to it, but a lovely, lovely brown. Not much of an aroma coming off of it for me. Still a fairly clear beer. It's, like I said, it's fairly dark, but you can still see through it. There's no cloudiness, nothing like that. Slightly effervescent. And again, not really much coming off of that in terms of an aroma. With the flavor. And the flavor is where it's at. That's got a really nice, crisp taste to it. It's actually refreshing, which is something that you don't normally find in a fall beer. You usually see that more in your lighter spring beers or summer beers. But it is a very crisp, refreshing beer. And that's another perfect campfire beer. It's got this slightly smoky, slightly spicy flavor to it. And got some nice fall spices in there. Not really much coming forward in terms of hops, but that's okay. You can do everything you need to for these beers with grain. And it's just delicious. Slightly smoky, spicy. It just has that flavor that reminds you of sitting outside in the autumn with a big pile of freshly fallen leaves around you. Another great campfire beer, by the way. Or bonfire, I should say. So for me, this one comes in at a 4 out of 5. It's a very solid, very delicious beer. It's everything you'd expect from an Oktoberfest. It's got that nice, medium, heavy mouthfeel with, as I said, that taste of fall. Spicy, smoky, grainy, just delicious. I think this one's going to disappear faster than the Boston Lager did. But, like I said, a 4 out of 5 for me. So I'm going to finish it up, and we will move on to beer number 4 in this pack. Alright, so we are up to beer number 4 in the Sam Adams Fall Variety Pack 2016. And this is another new one. This is Sam Adams Maple Ale. So I'm not sure exactly what they did to enhance the maple flavor, to add the maple flavor. It doesn't necessarily say on the label whether this was aged in maple syrup barrels or if there was just maple added or how exactly the flavor was infused in there. So don't know what to expect other than some sort of maple flavor, hopefully. Or it could just be a descriptive word. They could just be calling it maple ale without any real maple flavor. Although they do mention there should be maple in the finish, so somehow that flavor has been imparted. That does have a really nice color. A very nice maple syrup color. It's a deep brown with hints of red in it. That looks good. That looks really good. It's still a fairly clear beer, not cloudy at all. You can kind of see through it. You know, there's nothing getting in the way of the light coming through other than the color of the beer itself. Not very effervescent, although it did manage to put a somewhat decent head on that one. There's a hint of a sweet mapley aroma coming off of that. Not much else. Oh, that's nice. There's a nice medium mouthfeel to that. It's a little smoky up front. Mm. And there is a bit of maple in the finish. It's not a sweet beer, which you do get with some of the beers that have maple in the name. Mm. Good medium mouthfeel, like I said. A bit of maple in the finish. Slightly sweet. Mostly smoking that maple. Although it does remind me, in terms of the taste, it does remind me of the aroma of a pile of leaves in the fall. I believe that came through in some of the other beers as well in this pack. It's actually very interesting. Like I said, most of the flavors in it are very subtle. There's nothing really jumping out in there that's making me go wow or get me too excited about it. Overall, I think I got to hit this one with a 3.5 out of 5. Bear in mind, on a 1 to 5 scale, a 2.5 is average. So definitely an above average experience overall from the beer. It's somewhat crisp, but there's nothing really impressing me about it other than that slight mapley sweetness in the finish. And the smokiness up front. And it is a very good solid fall beer. This is a great one for sitting around and drinking, but it's just not wowing me. So that's another really solid beer in this pack. I'm going to finish it up, and we will move on to beer number 5. Alright, so we are up to the 5th beer in the Sam Adams Fall Variety Pack for 2016. We're looking at the Toasted Caramel Bock. Let's go ahead and get this one open. Now that's interesting. The head's actually rather thick. Some of the beer was actually floating on the top of it for a second before settling in. And this beer, you can barely see any light coming through, so it's definitely darker than the others. It's got a nice mapley brown to it. I guess there's a heavy amount of molasses and maple expected from this. Slightly hazy and not very effervescent. Not really getting anything off the aroma. Maybe just a hint of sweetness. It's a medium heavy mouthfeel beer. It's got a bit of a tang to it. A slightly sour tang. It's reminiscent of a higher alcohol by volume beer, which makes me wonder where we're actually at this one. 5.6, so that's it's not quite up there where you should be getting that high ABV tang to it, but it is reminiscent of that. And now that some of the aroma's combining with what I've got for a taste in my mouth, I'm thinking that's just the molasses but it's not quite sitting right on my palate. Not a big fan of molasses unless it's combined with the right amount of sugar, and by the right amount I mean copious amounts. I don't think there's quite enough in this particular beer to overcome that negative taste of molasses. So for me, this one's coming in at a 2.5 out of 5. It's not a bad beer. I'm not disliking it, but I'm not really enjoying it that much. Like I said, it's got that nice medium heavy mouthfeel. It's got some smokiness, some little hints of maple, but primarily there's this overwhelming taste of molasses that's sitting heavy on my palate and actually getting a little bit of a sour tang to it that, like I said, is reminiscent of a high alcohol by volume beer. It's just not sitting right with me. It's not bad, and some of those other elements are balancing it out and making it still an enjoyable beer to drink. But personally, I'm rating it at a 2.5 out of 5, which is about average. Like I said, I don't hate it, but I'm not crazy about it. It's decent. It's a good beer. Yeah. So I'm going to finish this one off, and then we will move on to the Hoppy Red, which will be the 6th and final beer in this pack. Well, folks, one of the dangers of having an external microphone on your camera is that sometimes you forget to turn it on. Yeah. 5 beers in, I forgot to turn the microphone on. So, here's where we're at. Sam Adams Hoppy Red. It is the 6th and final beer in the Sam Adams 2016 Fall Variety Pack. I had a better head on this earlier when I poured it out, but unfortunately I couldn't tell you about it because the microphone was off. Anyway, I'm going to stop harping on that because I've already beat myself up off camera plenty for it. So I'm going to give you a good look at that nice reddish brown beer. As before, which you didn't see, not much coming off of the aroma of this beer either, but it's not hazy. You can just quite see through it. It's not very effervescent either, but not much of an aroma at all. Very smooth, very easy to drink. It's quite good. With some piney notes in the finish. It's got a nice medium mouthfeel. It reminds me very much of a lot of other reds I've had, except for the stronger hop characteristic that's coming through. And again, it's mostly piney notes, a little bit of earthiness there. But quite a good beer. There's nothing there that's providing me with a wow factor. So I'm going to hit this with a 3.5 out of 5. And I'm not sure if that actually jives with what I hit it with the last time I reviewed it individually on its own. Again, gone through several beers tonight, so some of those taste notes may be compromising this beer, although I have been cleansing with water in between. But and remember, on a scale of 1 to 5, a 3.5 is above average, 2.5 being an average beer, because this is very delicious, very easy to drink, and I do like a red. So overall, a very solid 12-pack from Sam Adams, a great variety, perfect fall beers, a couple of standouts from the crowd in here. Definitely invest in one. Hit me up down below in the comments and the email link. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my overall assessment of this 12-pack or any of the individual beers within. Love to hear what you have to say about it. Until next time. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers. Now, a little while back, we did a bit of a comparison with the Not Your Father's Hard Root Beer review.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for the beer, man. So, highly recommended by you. The Extreme Beer Fest this weekend. We'll be able to get a hold of, I believe it's the American